All right, good morning. Le'ilul Nishmat, all those that passed away from the virus in the last few days. Refuah Shelema for the sick people that got the virus. Be'ezrat Hashem, they should have the cure, should be healthy. Besurot Tovot and Atzlahat Kol Am Yisrael. All right, today's going to we're going to have the longer version of the halachot of Hilchot Pesah. We'll start with the things that we already spoke. Just a reminder for Birkat Levana, which is still Tuesday night, and Birkat Ilanot. Birkat Ilanot, make sure you have 2 trees if possible. If not, you can still say the Beracha. Do it this month, because if you miss out on Nisan, you have a problem of saying Beracha after. If you could try to see that the tree is not within 3 years of it, Olah, and it's not grafted, a grafted tree, that would be even better. For those that for some reason cannot do it throughout the week, they want to do it on Shabbat. On Shabbat is a little of a problem because we worry about people are going to carry on Shabbat. So if you don't have that problem, let's say it's in your backyard or someone's backyard and there's a Siddur over there, should be no problem. The other problem you might have is the Bored according to the Kabbalah, but we don't follow that Shita. And that's why if for whatever reason you weren't able to do it throughout the week, only on Shabbat, then you can do it on Shabbat. Okay, we'll start with Birkat Hametz. Birkat Hametz, as we all know, it's gonna take place tomorrow night, Tuesday night. Do not wait. Once you have the time, which is 20 minutes after Shkia, which is about 7:50. Do not wait. Go for the mitzvah right away. Mitzvah b'le'atchal tahmitzena. If you cannot do it, you could send a shaliach. The shaliach could say beracha. Is your shaliach? He could say the beracha. No problem. Same thing if let's say you have a large home and mashallah you have 3-4 floors, you have a lot of rooms. You could say beracha. Have your kids, other people, whoever is there with you, they listen to the beracha, they answer amen, and everyone goes to his room or to the floor that he took upon himself. One beracha covers it. If someone has to go out to check another house, if you go right away, that beracha could work for both houses. If not, then you should do another beracha. Especially if you have any hefsek and you spoke and you had to go somewhere, then you say beracha. But once you say the beracha, do not talk. Go straight for the searching, because if you did speak to someone or you answered the phone or you said something that has nothing to do with the bidikah, then you're going to have to say the beracha again. Haval, it's a beracha levatala. As far as the light could really be on and you're still able to search al pi halacha, no problem. However, the better thing is if you're able to close the light in the room at least, and then you can leave the light in the hallway. That's also okay. That's better. So you have some light from the candle. As far as flashlights, there's a whole discussion about it. We spoke about it the last few years. You can use flashlight. The best thing will be if you say the beracha on the candle, and then use flashlight. Now let me tell you something. Today's flashlights are LED. There's a mahloket if it's considered to be fire or not. You could be mekel to use those, but if you have an old type of flashlight, or you're able to purchase one of the old ones, that's a better one because that's mamash fire. There's a mistake that people have that they say, "This is my house. It's clean from hametz. Why do you have to search?" The answer is you still have to search because the beracha is on the searching. Whether you have hametz or you don't have hametz. And the same thing is those that they have the minhag to put the 10 pieces of a bread, which by the way should be less than a kazait, for a few reasons. Reason number one, if you don't find one, at least you'll be able to mevatel. The other reason is that if you have less than a kazait, even if you didn't have in mind or you thought you found or whatever, you're not oven isud or raita bali matzeh. But anyways, those that have the minhag to use the 10 piece of bread should have less than kazait, and those that don't have that minhag, you still say beracha again, because the beracha is for the searching of the hametz. Whether you found hametz or you didn't find hametz, the beracha is for the mitzvah of the searching itself, and that's why it doesn't change anything. A woman is also obligated to search for hametz if she's by herself. There's no difference in a man and a woman about it. Again, if anyone has any questions, I'll give you a chance to ask at the end of the class. The timing of eating hametz on Wednesday morning is about 10 o'clock, 10:08 to be exact. Don't wait for the last minute. That's if you have to eat, if you want to eat bread. You're not obligated to eat bread, but that's if you're eating bread or any type of hametz, it's still 10:08. Burning hametz, try to finish it by 11:20. This year, about burning hametz, which is an issue, as we said, you could make it into crumbs and throw it into the toilet or to the garbage outside, and that should be good enough. If someone still wants to burn hametz, you could take a kazait bread, whether it's a pita or rep, because those things get burnt right away, and you could use your stove and burn it right there. If you still want to do serifat hametz, be mekayim de mitzvah. However, you still mekayim de mitzvah by putting it into crumbs, throwing it away. You mevatel the hametz, and the main thing is you should be mevatel hametz, and that's the way you are mevatel hametz, by putting it in crumbs, throwing it into the air, or throwing it to the ocean, to the toilet, to the garbage. That's as far as hametz, bedikat hametz. As far as mechirat hametz, although all the years we try to have a kinyan, which is better in halacha. Although me'ikar adin, you're not obligated, because once you make someone shaliach by saying you are my shaliach is enough. So by you basically texting or emailing or telling over the phone to the rabbi, you're my shaliach, you're my messenger to sell my hametz, that should be enough. But we took the other way of making hidu throughout the years. But this year, because we cannot do it, it's more than enough by you just texting your name and address, and by the rabbi receiving that email or text or WhatsApp or phone call. That's more than enough to make him a shaliach to sell your hametz. Don't wait for the last minute, although the deadline is Wednesday morning, but don't wait for the last minute, because once you're going to pass that time, you're not going to be able to sell your hametz, and you're going to have to throw whatever you have, including your blue label, which is very expensive. Okay, so we're going to go now to things that have mixed of hametz. Number one, anything that you're not sure if it has hametz or not, do not use it. If it's a must, then there's two ways to do it. Number one, ask the company. Call the company, tell them you're allergic to flour, you're allergic to all those type of 5 grain that we have, which is barley, oats, wheat, and so on. And you tell them you're allergic to it. You just want to make sure there's no any of those things involved in this particular food or whatever, such as frozen foods could have sometimes, or you could have also the dry fruits, which they use many times starch, like figs and things like that, to dry it up, or flour or whatever. So those things have to have kashrut for Pesah. If it's not kosher for Pesah, do not use it, unless you made a call and you told them that you're allergic, let's say, to flour. If someone is allergic, you don't have to say you're allergic, because it might be a lie. But if someone is allergic to flour or to any type of 5 grain or whatever, is that okay for them? And when it comes to this, people are very afraid, and tell you the truth, even if it's less than 1% of those things involved in it. So that's why in those things you should make sure you have kashrut. If you don't have kashrut and it's a must, then call up the company, make sure there's nothing of hametz or starch or whatever involved in it. That same question could be for rice. People always ask the question for rice. So rice, you just have to make sure they call it bleached, not bleached, whatever. The way they do it is many times they put flour in order to keep it fresh. So those rices are not kosher for Pesach, and that's why you should search for rice kosher for Pesach. But not enough that it's not bleached. You have to make sure that it's being checked 3 times, preferred by 3 different people if you can in your house. And if not, you could do it yourself, but you got to make sure you search 3 times, which means you take whatever amount of rice or whatever the item may be, and you go through each one of them. You finish that part, you put it away, and then you bring it back into a different plate. Not on the same plate back and forth, because many times it's not 3 times, and it's a problem. because you have to have hazakah, 3 times search and check for an isur. That's why the minhag by us was that everyone takes whatever amount he took to search, then he gives it to his friend or to his brother or to his relative to do the second search, and the third search goes to a third person. And it happened many times that the second person, or sometimes even the third person, was able to see something which is asur. I can tell you from my experience, we got some wheat, mamash wheat, which is hametz gamur, after the second, or we had even cases a third time. So if you check rice, you have to make sure that you check it mamash 3 times. As I said, preferred 3 different people to do the 3 separate checking. When it comes to medicines, we spoke about it once already, that the best thing is to ask the pharmacy or the company to make sure there's no starch, because many of those medicines do have starch and flour and whatever, and you have to make sure that it's kosher for Pesah. Again, as I told you, you got to tell them if someone is allergic to flour, if it's okay for him to take this medicine. You could trust the company, although they're going. There's a lot of Jewish pharmacies out there. They have lists of kosher medicines. Again, that's only if it's required. If the doctor says you must take it every day, we're not going into what kind of sickness people have. If it's a must, then you have to search there's no hametz. Now, if it's a sick person, there's danger involved, then you don't ask questions, you're allowed to take it. However, you have to know that if it's hametz gamur, you prefer not to own it, because there's 2 different isurim. One isur is to eat hametz, one isur is to own hametz. Although we say you're allowed to eat the hametz, the medicine which that has hametz in it, because it's a chodesh yesh bo sakana, it preferred not to own it. And that's why in a case like that, you should be mafkir, or you should buy less than kan shi'ur, which I'll explain in a minute. But this problem of having hametz involved in it is only if it's something which is called ra'ui la'achilat kelev. If it's edible for a dog, edible for a person, most people are able to eat it, then you have that problem. If it's not edible for a dog, then you don't have a problem with this, especially for chodesh yesh bo sakana. And if it is edible, which most medicine are not, but if it is edible for humans, sometimes they have those syrups which has a taste in it and so on, and it's considered to be hametz, then in this case you should disown it. You should be mafkir, preferred in front of 3 people, and put it in a place which is not such of a secure place, like if you're in your yard or somewhere that it's reachable to other people. If not, give it matana to your neighbor, the goy or your chadame, and you just take whatever you take. Usually it's less than shi'ur, but if it's more than a shi'ur, so try to take less at that moment, less than a shi'ur. I don't want to go into too much to it, because most of the cases, I would say 90+% of the cases don't have that problem. But because it's hametz, which is hamur, we spoke about. Anybody has more questions about this particular question of ta'arufet hametz for medicines or whatever, then reach out to me after the class, and we'll give you more details if needed. Soaps, perfumes, creams, shampoo, whatever, all those things, or even toothpaste, especially for the Sfaradim, there's no problem, because it's not ra'ui la'achilat kelev, which means it's not edible for a dog, and that's why you're allowed to use it on Pesah. Ashkenazim are more mahmir on it. Everyone should ask his rabbi in this case what to do when that problem comes to him. That's as far as ta'arufet hametz. Next subject is going to talk about hachsharat kelim. I'm not going to go into the details of it. We already had a whole class about it, but I will talk about the main things that we have to know about it, due to that we're recording it, and other people will be able to benefit out of it. So kelim are basically the way you kosher kelim. You have to know the product, the item, the material of it. If it's something such as metal, tin, silver, and so on, those things are able to boleya and polet, which means they're able to absorb the isur of the hametz, and you're able to kosher it basically. those, the way you usually use it, that's the way you're going to kosher it. You're going to kosher it. That's the simple understanding of it. Wood, for example, or plastic, or rubber, and so on, or even stone, whatever, those are considered to be kibbul okach polto, which means you're able to kosher it. But here we're talking about only if you're going to have to use that utensil of Pesach. If you're not using that utensil, if you're not using that utensil of Pesach, that you're not required to kosher it. You just put it away and that's it. If it's glass or Pyrex crystal of anything that family, then you're just good to wash it off and you're good to use it on Pesach, no problem. And again, those things that we're talking about, those items that we just mentioned, are items that you're going to use on Pesach, and those items have to be hametz, which means you used it for hametz. If you never used it for hametz, let's say glass cups they use for coffee, then there's no problem whatsoever to begin with, especially if it's glass. And that's why you don't have to put yourself into situations of working for nothing. If there's plenty of other things that you got to do for Pesach. Anything that has to do with ceramic, china, clay, whatever, those are not to be used on Pesach because you're not able to kosher it. That's in general about the particular items, materials that we have in the kitchen. Now, let's try to cover as much as possible. The sink is enough by washing it off, especially if you pour boiling hot water, that should be enough. Refrigerators cleaning is enough. Dishwasher, do self-clean. Stoves, the truth is, it's good enough as it is because you always use it and you don't cook on it directly anything. So basically by covering it or even pouring boiling hot water, that should be enough. Some people are more mahmir on it. They want to use the oven for it and so on. It's not required. If you have any more questions about it, I'll explain you later why it's not required. Now, the oven, as I told you, there is a problem, especially with the ovens that have vents. I'm not recommending anyone to use it on Pesach. However, if you still want to use it, you're going to have to clean it very good inside, especially if you have a vent. I mean, it's really very hard to clean, but you got to clean it as good as possible. Then you have to turn it on for about 72 minutes at the highest level. Some have, I think, self-clean or something. And then you could use it on Pesach if you cover the food according to most poskim. And that's the only way I'm going to tell you to do it. If you cover the food and you clean it as much as possible and you put it on for about an hour or so, then you'll be able most probably to use the oven. I don't recommend it, but if you still want to use it, that will be the way I would tell you to use ovens. Microwaves, you just put a cup of water, put soap in it, 5 minutes, you're good to go. But that's only the plain microwaves. If it's a toaster with it, it's like an oven, and I would not use it at all because especially toasters are something that's movable. There's always crumbs. I would not touch it on Pesach. It's very simple. You buy a toaster oven for Pesach, $50. You have something you can use every year for Pesach. So don't put yourself into that situation. Any other utensils, basically the way you use it, that's the way you're going to kosher it. And the blech, it depends how you use it. If you put mamash hametz on it and you're going to put your matzah on it, let's say the soft matzah, I would highly recommend you to buy a new one, unless you do a libun hamur on it, because it's considered to be mamash on direct on the fire, and that's why you should get a new one. Or if you don't have a chance, and for whatever reason you have to still use it, cover it with heavy silver foil, and that should be okay if you can make sure that it doesn't get ripped and so on. As far as the counters depends what material it is, but people usually don't put mamash hametz, hot hametz on it, so by washing it off should be enough. If you do put hot hametz on it, such as challah, straight from the oven, you should at least pour boiling hot water on it. I know the Ashkenazim are more mahmir on it. They have the rabbis, the way they do is they take a brick and they put it in the oven, make it very hot, and then they go through the counter. But you have to know also what kind of counter you have. The material of the counters, as we said before, makes a difference also. But people usually don't put hot stuff on the counters. When I mean hot stuff, I mean direct hametz on the stove. So, but that's enough by washing it off. Or if you want to make it even simpler, you put the heavy silver foil, 1 or 2 layers, and you're good to go even without washing. Especially when you have some of the counters, they have holes and whatever. There might be hametz, gamur in there. Although it's crumbs, but it could be touched to food that you have on Pesach. Again, there's other things out there that we could talk about, but I cannot go into every detail of every item in the kitchen. So if you have any more questions about it, you can reach out to me later. Now we're going to talk about the ta'aniyot. Ta'anit on the Erev Pesach, those the bechorot that are obligated to fast of that day. As we all know, the minhag is you go Seudat Mitzvah, you Masechet. What do you do this year about it? So we spoke about it yesterday. First of all, women are exempt from it, especially this year. Every woman could take that leniency. Old people or sick people are for sure patur from it. Those that are still obligated could either do their own Siyum Masechet or Mishnayot, which is highly recommended for a person to finish it yourself. Take any Masechet, short Masechet, you can finish it in half an hour, and you're good to go. But Siyum Masechet Mishnayot preferred not to be motzi other people with it. Mamash b'shat adhak, you can. Otherwise, just do it for yourself. The Siyum Gemara, which is good for everyone, should be live only. Live through the phone or Zoom, where we have these days, is good to be Yotzeh Yedei Hovab, and you could eat that day on Erev Pesach. Or another option, so that means if there's a Brit Milah Pidyon Ben, then even better. That's the best thing, is you go Seudat Mitzvah and you're good to, you're exempt from the Ta'anit for that day. Obviously, we're talking about only for Bechorot. Everybody else is exempt as it is. As you know, this year, unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to be able to take haircuts. That's why I said there's a leniency to do it in the Omer. Again, if you're able to take your haircut, even b'di'avad, not in the best way, that would be the best thing. But if you can't, and hopefully Be'ezat Hashem by the Omer will be ready to go out and do whatever we have to do, then you can use that leniency, especially if you do it on Friday, Hilchot Shabbat. On Holam Moed, some want to say it should be okay to take a haircut. I wouldn't give that heter. Only for kids, maybe. In that case, there's, if it's needed, then there's on who to rely, but reach out to me afterwards if you have that problem. On Erev Pesach, you should try to do everything and finish everything before Hatzot. Now here we're talking about work, mamash work. Fixing things or whatever. If your wife has to do something that has to do with tailing or anything like that, should be before Hatzot. Otherwise, after Hatzot, you can't do anything else except obviously cooking and things like that. But any heavy melacha should not be done after Hatzot of Erev Pesach. Many are mahmir already by Hatzot of Erev Pesach to wear already Bigdei Shabbat clothing, holiday clothing. But whatever the case may be, you cannot treat it as a regular weekday. So make sure you finish everything before Hatzot. Things that has to do with mamash melacha, as we said before. You cannot eat bread obviously that day, except till 10 o'clock in the morning, as we said before. And you cannot eat matzah. Matzah is forbidden the whole day. And that's why the things that you're allowed to eat will be rice, potatoes, and other things obviously. But even with that, you should not eat after 5 or 5:30ish or so. I would say about after 5 o'clock, Sha'ah Asirit, you shouldn't eat anything to fulfill you, so you come into the Leil Seder while you're hungry. We want you to be hungry when you come to Leil Seder, so you do it Be'ezat Hashem with a lot of appetite. Mincha should be on that day, should be prayed about 7:15 or so. Shkirah is about 7:30. So try to pray a few minutes before, obviously. But here's the thing: Arbit, you cannot do right away. Arbit, you have to do it. The earliest ever will be 7:50. Is 20 minutes after Shkirah, so 7:50, not before that. And the Leil Seder cannot be done before 8:10. 8:10 is the earliest time to do Leil Seder. Unfortunate this year, I would say most probably everyone, if not everyone, most people wouldn't pray with a minyan. There's a question regarding a Hallel. That night that's the only time we have Hallel. We have Hallel on Lil Pesah. The only time we have Hallel at night, and we say it with a beracha, with a minyan. What happens if you don't have a minyan? There's a question in the poskim. Hacham Yitzchak Yosef brings in the name of his father that you could say the Hallel with the beracha in the prayer. Those that have the minhag not to say that with beracha or no Hallel whatsoever, then should follow their minhag. But most Sfaradim say Hallel with beracha, and you could rely on Hacham over there obviously to say Hallel with beracha. Again, as I said, unless you have a minhag not to. Don't forget Eruv Tavshilin. Eruv Tavshilin means you're taking matzah in this case, and cooked food. It could be an egg or so, and with that you say beracha. The beracha basically is in the mahzor, and there's a nosach you say over there, and that allows you basically to cook and to do any preparation from Yom Tov to Shabbat, not from one Yom Tov to the other day Yom Tov, which means not from Thursday to Friday. It's Thursday or Friday to Shabbat, but Thursday to Friday you cannot cook from one day to another. Candle lighting will be about 7:10. Minhag of Sfaradim to say with a beracha. If you know for a fact your minhag is not to say beracha on that candle, then don't say. But most Sfaradim do say it, and if you don't know your minhag, you can't say a beracha. And but shehyanu, if a woman knows she had a minhag to say shehyanu on the candles, she could follow it. There's poskim that said that you could follow that minhag. If you don't have that minhag, or you don't know your minhag, do not say shehyanu on the candle lightings. I was asked a question about to have Zoom on Leil Seder. Obviously, when you turn it on before the holiday on a timer and so on, and you have it in a place people don't touch. I heard all about it, but you cannot use Zoom, especially if it's halakha l'rabim. I'm aware of that letter of other rabbis. Some rabbis they gave that heter, but rubam kikulam, most of the rabbis in the world forbidden that. So do not use it, especially if it's halakha l'rabim. You should not use Zoom for the Leil Seder. Now we're going to go for the Leil Seder itself. It starts, as we all know, Kaddish. Kaddish is Kiddush. Kiddush, you start with a Kiddush, and here's what you have to know. You should use wine lekatchila. Dry wine, no sugar, not mevushal is preferred. Red, and if possible to get the Israeli wine from Eretz Israel. This is all the hidurim that we have by wine. Again, I'm repeating the hidurim, which if you can, obviously, you should go for it, at least for the first cup, which is dry wine, no sugar, not mevushal, red, and from Israel. That's the most preferred wine to use for Leil Seder. If you can do 4 full cups of it, will be the best. If not, at least the first cup. The rest of the cups could be mixed some wine with grape juice. Preferred not to use just grape juice for adults. That's only for women or kids, minors. But for adults, try to use at least some wine involved in the grape juice, unless you really get sick of it, from it, and that will allow you to use only grape juice. Especially the first night, if you could do it, that will be, which is the first night is the oraita. The amount of what you need to have in the cup is 86 gram, which is about 3.3 or 4 ounce of wine you should drink, and you should drink it in one shot. And bahaseba, you have to lean towards your left side. If you did not lean when you're obligated to lean, in a case like that, you're gonna have to redo it. So you got to make sure you're doing the right haseba, which means you have to lean to your left side, not leaning towards other people. You have to lean on something, and you have to do it in a way like you sit in the sofa, like about 45 degrees or so, a little more tilted that way. Otherwise, you're going into a major problem of not doing the haseba the right way, and that requires you to redo it again. So if a person drank 4 cups of wine and didn't do the right haseba, he's going to have to do it again 4 times, 4 cups again and again. The same thing with the kazetot of the matzah. We'll talk about it soon, how many kazetot we have to eat, but the idea is whatever you have to do, in other words, eating and drinking that requires hasebah has to be done the right way. If you didn't do it the right way, you have to redo the whole Leil Seder. So it's very important to know that hasebah is one of the basic halachot of Leil Seder, and that requires a woman as well. In other words, Sfaradim, the woman by the Sfaradim and Ashkenazim today, I would say, most do basically the minhag, I would say, is to do hasebah, and that's why they are obligated. Someone is say if she didn't do hasebah, she's not required to do it again. But again, the minhag is to do hasebah. Those they know for sure that their minhag is not to do hasebah for the women are not obligated to hasebah, follow your minhag. Whatever I'm telling you tonight as far as Leil Seder, I'm not going to go into the details of the minhagim. Follow your minhagim that you have in the Haggadah. I'm going to just talk about the major halachot, ikarei dinim, that requires in Leil Seder. So especially that this year, a lot of people are doing it the first time. So I just want to make sure that you're doing the right things and not to be too mahmir, just to do the basic and ikar din of what the halacha requires. So that's regarding Kadesh. Urahatz. Urahatz is washing your hands with no beracha. Because you're not washing your hands for the seudah, you're washing your hands for davar shetibulo b'mashke. Something that you dip in mashke, which is the next thing, which is karpas. You dip it into salt water or lemon, whatever your minhag is. And for that, you're required to wash your hands. According to the Rambam, you have to with beracha, but we follow others in Maran that says no beracha on it, and that's why you wash your hands with no beracha. But you should not talk, although you didn't say beracha, you don't talk, you wash your hands, because you have to keep your hands clean till you do the dipping of the karpas. You should take less than a kazait. Kazait is about 28 grams. You take a karpas, whatever karpas you're using, it should be less than kazait. You say the beracha, adama, having in mind you be motzi de maror, which is later on, So by you saying now adama, you basically fulfilling your beracha for the maror later on. So have it in mind. The next thing you do is you do yahatz. Yahatz is you take the middle matzah and you break it into half. The larger part you leave it for afikoman. You put away for afikoman. The other part you leave there on the table, and then you go for the agadah. Agadah, as you know, you have the whole agadah, which